All right, guys, welcome in, welcome in. We're going to get right into this. Now, this was inevitable. We knew that this was going to happen. We knew that this was inevitable, that Tim Walz was going to drop out. Now, let's just be clear about this. Tim Walz did not just drop out. Tim Walz was forced out, and I'm talking about by the top Democrats. I'm talking Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, Hakeem Jeffries, because we understood that before Maduro, before the Minnesota fraud scandal happened, we were talking about the Democrats actually having a blue wave and destroying the midterms and actually coming together and actually taking some seats in the House and taking maybe a couple seats in the Senate and stuff like that. That's what we were talking about. But now the Minnesota Somalian scandal has taken over the news waves that the Democrats can't escape that. So what are they doing right now? They're saying, look, Tim, we know damn well you knew what was going on. You were damn sure a part of the fraud. This is blowing our chances of 2026 midterms. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to shut up. You're going to resign, and you're going to take it like a man. The same thing that the Democrats did with Joe Biden. Schumer and Pelosi sat Joe Biden down after his debate with Donald Trump. They knew for a fact that Joe Biden could not stand a chance against Donald Trump after that debate. And they said, look, Joe, we love you. Thank you for giving us 4 years, but you are not going to run again. You are not going to make any waves. You are not going to throw anybody under the bus. You are just going to smile, say is what's best for the country. You're going to step down, and here comes Kamala Harris, and she's going to be the new president. This is what we're going to do. So the same thing, Tim, you're not going to make any waves. You're not going to throw anybody under the bus. You're not going to sit there and say other people were a part of it. You're going to sit there, you're going to resign, and you're going to let somebody else take your spot. And that's what happened. Tim Walz did not do this on his own. He was 100% coerced by the top Democrats, okay? Now, again, thank you, Nick Shirley, for exposing all this. But again, we're going to see who runs, if it's Amy Klobuchar or whoever runs. But again, this was a force out. Let's make no mistake about this. This was not Tim Walz just deciding to be the nice guy and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to accept responsibility. I'm going to do. No, he didn't accept any responsibility. Tim Walz was forced out by the Democratic powers that be, Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. So let's kind of get into this. Let's see how this whole thing played out. And let's kind of see what Donald Trump has to say, because Donald Trump made some comments about it. So let's just see what he has to say.
Others for his handling of fraud in Minnesota. Just a little bit ago, President Trump did put out a statement via his Truth Social saying Minnesota's corrupt governor will possibly leave office before his term is up, but in any event will not be running again because he was caught red-handed along with Representative Omar and others of his Somali friends, stealing tens of billions of taxpayer dollars. I feel certain the facts will come out and they will reveal a serious, unscrupulous, and rich group of slime balls. Governor Walz has destroyed the state of Minnesota, but others like Governor Gavin Newsom, J.B. Pritzker, and Kathy Hochul have done, in my opinion, an even more dishonest and incompetent job. No one is above the law there that he put out there.
Okay, so that's Donald Trump's comments. Now, let's be clear about this. This is what the Democratic strategy is going to be from now on. What they're going to do is they're going to sit there and say, hey, look, let's not talk about it anymore. Tim Walz was resigned. No more talking about it. But Tim Walz did the smart thing about it, because I think the more and more and more this plays out, the more fraud that's going to be uncovered, the more people are going to be exposed, and they're going to say, they're going to want Tim Walz to be in handcuffs. He 100% knew about all this fraud, and he was complicit. But him dropping out of the race and not seeking re-election is going to be essentially like his punishment, okay? So that's why I think it was smart on his end to just accept the punishment from the Democratic Party, resign, not seek re-election, and then go about, live on a beach somewhere or whatever the case may be. Because if he stayed in power and more and more fraud came in, it's going to be, we already know this is billions and billions of dollars worth of fraud. They're going to call for him to be in handcuffs. So because he stepped down, this is going to be like a way for the Democrats to say, hey, look, Tim retired. He stepped down. No need to talk about it. No need to keep investigating. Let's move on. That's what their plan is. But we're going to continue to talk about this fraud because this is not going away. Again, billions of dollars have been stolen from Minnesotans. So until they get that money back, people are going to keep talking about this story. This is not going to go away. So let's see what Tim Walz had to say. Does Tim Walz accept responsibility? Does he sit there and say, hey, look, guys, I made a mistake. There was no government oversight. I should have handled this better. I should have called out people that were participating in this fraud. Do you think he did something like this? Or do you think he blamed Donald Trump and Republicans? Let's see what Tim Walz has to say about his whole resignation, pretty much.
And even as we make progress in the fight against the fraudsters, we now see an organized group of political actors seeking to take advantage of a crisis. I don't want to mince words here. Donald Trump and his allies in Washington and in St. Paul and online want to make our state a colder, meaner place.
Look how fast he was to blame Donald Trump. Donald Trump has no say in what happened to this Minnesota fraud. He hasn't had any blame to this. What does Donald Trump have to do with the Minnesota fraud? That has nothing to do with what's going on, but yet you're blaming Donald Trump instead of blaming you, Jacob Frey, Ilhan Omar, the Somalian people who are taking advantage of the taxpayers. What does Donald Trump have to do with anything? This is my problem. If you're going to accept resignation, just accept, hey, look, you know what? Maybe there should have been some more oversight. I'm going to take responsibility of this. I'm going to go out like a man. No, stop blaming Donald Trump and the Republicans.
They want to poison our people against each other by attacking our neighbors. And ultimately, they want to take away much of what makes Minnesota the best place in the country to raise a family. They've already begun trying to withhold funds that were meant to help families afford child care. And they have no intention of stopping there. Make no mistake, we should be concerned about fraud in our state government. We cannot effectively deliver programs and services if we can't earn the public's trust. That's why over the past few years, we've made systemic changes in the way we do business. We've gone to the legislature time and time again to get more tools to combat fraud. We've hired people we fired people who weren't doing their jobs. We've seen people go to jail for stealing from our state. We've cut off whole streams of funding in partnership with the federal government, where we saw widespread criminal.
Wait, hold on. So you're saying you did all this? You fired people, you dismissed people that were corrupt and all this fraud, but yet all these daycares, all these Somalian daycares are still operating, still collecting taxpayer funds. How does that happen? If you're doing your job like you say you're doing, how are these fraudulent daycares still allowed to take taxpayer funds? That doesn't make any sense, Tim.
Criminal activity. We've put new locks on the doors of our remaining programs, and we've hired a new head of program integrity to make sure that those locks can't be broken. All across this state, Minnesotans are hard at work on this problem. Advocates, administrators, investigators are on the front lines defending the integrity of our state's programs, and I want to give a very heartfelt thank you to all of them. There is more to do. A single taxpayer dollar wasted on fraud should be intolerable. And while there's a role to play for everyone, from the legislature to prosecutors to insurance companies to local and county government, the buck does stop with me. My administration has been taking fast, decisive action to solve this crisis. We'll win the fight against the fraudsters. But the political gamesmanship we're seeing from Republicans is only making that fight harder. We've got Republicans here in the state legislature playing hide and seek with potential whistleblowers. We've got conspiracy theorist right-wing YouTubers breaking into our daycares, demanding access to.
First of all, it's not a conspiracy theory. There is 100% fraud over there, Tim. And this is what the Democrats do. They will not accept blame. They're always blaming Donald Trump or the Republicans. That has nothing to do with the fraud. Minnesota is a Democratic-run state. The Somalis that were able to steal from the taxpayers, that was handed over to Democratic politicians. That has nothing to do with the Republicans. You're over here sitting blaming Donald Trump and Nick Shirley for exposing you. No, I'm sorry. That's your fault for allowing this to happen.
To our children. We've got the President of the United States demonizing our Somali neighbors and wrongfully confiscating funds that Minnesotans rely on. It's disgusting and it's dangerous. Republicans are playing politics with the future of this state. It's shameful. And I've said it before, and I will continue to say it. We welcome ideas from anyone, in any party, from any walk of life, who wants to help us continue to stay ahead of these criminals. And we welcome the involvement of the federal government. I am grateful to the career professionals at the U.S. Attorney's Office and the FBI who have been helping us fight this fight for years. But I cannot abide the actions of the political leadership in Washington. These opportunists are willing to hurt our people to score cheap points.
No, Tim, you are the one that hurt your people by allowing the Somalis to come over and take over, steal taxpayer funds, and give it to Al-Shabaab in Somalia, the terrorist organization. That is your fault. That's not Donald Trump's fault.
And their allies have no intention of helping us solve this problem, and every intention of trying to profit off of it. Which brings me to this. 2026 is an election year. Election years have a way of ramping up the politics at a time when we simply can't afford more of that in Minnesota. In September, I announced that I would seek a historic third term as Minnesota's governor, and I have every confidence that if I gave it my all, we would win the race. But as I reflect on this moment with my family and my team over the holidays, I came to the conclusion that I can't give a political campaign my all. Every minute that I spend defending my own political interest would be a minute I can't spend defending the people of Minnesota against the criminals who prey on our generosity and the cynics who want to prey on our differences. So I've decided to step out of this race, and I'll let others worry about the election while I focus on the work that's in front of me for the next year. I'm passing on this race with zero sadness and zero regret. I did not run for this job to have the job. I ran for the job to do the job. Minnesota faces enormous challenges this year, and I refuse to spend a single minute doing.
All right, let's see what the last part of what he has to say.
But there'll be time to worry about all that later. Today, I'm proud of the work we've done to make Minnesota America's best place to live and raise kids. From our new paid leave policy to our child tax credit to our school lunch programs feeding every single child. And I'm doubly proud of the incredible team we put together to make this vision a reality. I want to take a moment to thank every member of my staff, to every single state employee who has been part of this fight. Now more than ever, I need you on the job. I need you to help work together to tackle the important work in front of us. And most of all, I want Minnesotans to know how grateful I am for the opportunity to serve this state, for the privilege.
All right. That's enough of that. So that's him stepping down, him being essentially fired, and the Democrats telling him that he can't seek re-election. So that is very unfortunate, for the Democrats. I hope this keeps, we keep talking about this, and we keep talking about the fraud, and we keep finding out who is a part of it. I mean, I would 100% look into Jacob Frey, the mayor of Minneapolis. I mean, he's dancing to their music, eating their food, and speaking in Somali. I don't know what the heck was going on with that, but he'd be another person I would look into. So Tim Walz is officially dropped out of the race for 2026. So we're going to see who the new contenders for Minnesota. Is it going to be a Republican that might win? I don't know. I think a Republican might have a good shot after all the Democratic fraud that's happened. So we're going to see if the next elected governor is going to win back the trust of the Minnesotans. Hopefully they get their taxpayers. I mean, I have people asking me, hey, look, aren't you happy that he resigned? I'm like, no, I'm not happy, because the people are still out of their money. Now, if you were to sit there and give the taxpayers some type of stimulus check to make up for all the theft that was happening, then sure, that's a good start. But just to sit there and say, hey, look, we stole money from you, our bad, sorry. No, that's not enough for the people. That's not enough for the taxpayers. That's not enough for the people of Minnesota. So hopefully they get some type of money back, but probably not, because it's a Democratic run state. I mean, it's run like crap. So we'll see what happens in the next few weeks. All right, guys, appreciate you tuning in. Remember, like, comment, subscribe. I'm out of here.